welcome to Life on Yarn. My name's Tina and these are my WIPs. I do move in 2 months time and I really want to finish some of my works in progress because I do have a lot of them. Because if I'm 100% honest with you, this is not everything. I've got more. Yes, that's how it goes. I mean, some of them, like the cardigan that I'm wearing right now, is actually only missing the buttons. It has the buttons, buttonholes, everything, and woven in, but I need to sew on buttons. I have more projects that need buttons. I have, I think maybe 1 or 2 projects where I really just need to weave in the ends and then block it. And then I also have others like my wrap cardigan that needs 2 sleeves. I have a very fine scarf that isn't finished. I think this one is pretty advanced. It only needs like half a sleeve and it will be done. But yeah, so I have all of those projects and I have 2 months before I move. So that's my challenge and that's what we're going to talk about here in the next few weeks. And to make it a little bit more interesting for me and maybe also motivate me to really finish projects and not start something new, I've put together like a little point system. So whenever I finish like part of a project, like a sleeve, that gives me 2 points, or when I finish a sock that's also 2 points. Weaving in the ends is 1 point, or like sewing on buttons, I decided that it's just kind of 1 point or like half a point, 1.5 points per button that I sew on. And so I can like accumulate points and then I can get rewards for those points. That is my point system. Those are my WIPs. So let's get started. To start out, like this first week, I really want to kind of maybe get some quick wins in, like not super quick. I think I'm saving sewing on buttons on different projects for a bit later because I do have at least 1 week where I'm pretty much away the whole week for work and I won't have a lot of time to knit or do anything. So that could be like a nice thing to just sew on some buttons there to still get some points. But I think this week I'm going to start with this. This is the Freestyle sweater by Susanne Müller, or the paulastrickt. And yeah, as you can see, it's missing the sleeve here. I think, no, I didn't weave in the ends. I thought that I might have already woven in the ends, but no, that would have been too good. But yeah, it has kind of 3/4 length sleeves and they're kind of pretty wide and then like they're gathered at the, it's not really the ankle, it's like a bit further up. So yeah, I think I have to see, I have 1, 2, 3 decreases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have like to do 2 decrease sections, or I'm already pretty close actually to the next one, then 1 more, and then do the weaving the end, and the sweater is done. So that could be a really cool little win. The one thing with this sweater is there's going to be a lot of ends to weave in, because for example, to get like this detail down here at the hem and the same thing at the sleeves, you actually bind off all the stitches, or before you bind off you put in a lifeline, then you bind them off, you pick them up again, and then you do the ribbing. So like for every cuff or hem there is like several times where you kind of pick up the yarn again and you have ends. And I think also when I started the sweater, it's been a while, I think I started it last end of summer, fall, something like that. And I think also for the start she had you like cast on stitches and then kind of cut the yarn and slip some stitches to have a different start for the short rows, or I can't exactly remember it, but I do know that yeah, there's quite a few ends to weave in. And also I'm holding a fingering weight double, so when I do that, like when I take a yarn double, I do like to weave in the ends separately, because I just feel like it gives less of bulk or anything like on the wrong side of the knit. So yeah, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Finish the sleeve first and then weave in the ends. The yarn that I'm using is Jawohl by Lang Yarns. So it's just like your classic sock yarn with 75% wool and 25% nylon. I just really loved the color. I had this thing in mind that I wanted to do a red sweater. At first I really was like, I want something like burgundy red, like a very dark red, but I find it very difficult to find a burgundy red that is not kind of yellowish orangish or purpley. I really wanted a neutral burgundy red, and I just couldn't find it. And then suddenly I ended up with a bright red because I was just looking at different yarns, and yeah, this color just really spoke to me in the end. And to get gauge for the pattern, I'm holding it double, but I really like it. And yeah, kind of, if we can finish the sleeves, weave in the ends, give it a nice wash and block, and I could have a new sweater in my wardrobe in a few days from now. I'm on my lunch break right now. Food is in the oven, so I have a bit of time to knit a few stitches on my freestyle sweater. So that's what we're going to do. Actually, need to figure out where I have the pattern. Let's see. No. I mean, sometimes I print patterns and sometimes I just use them digitally. And I was hoping that I have a printed pattern in my project bag here, but no, it doesn't look like it. So let's go and find the pattern first before I can continue, because as I'm still working on decreases, I have to know how much further I have to knit before I make the next decrease. So let's find the pattern. This looks nice for a video, but it's not really practical to get off. Okay, I found the pattern. I have to knit 3 more rounds before I do the next round of decreases. So let's do that. Okay, I think I discovered why this project isn't finished. Because in theory the needle is a bit too long, so it's really annoying kind of to knit the sleeve in the round. But we started it, we're going to finish it. Ta-da! I finished my freestyle sweater. Seriously, that was so quick, but I mean, there was really only a little bit missing. I could have just finished it like weeks ago and actually been wearing it, because I think I must have put it on hold before I went on holiday, so that would have been like the first half of November last year. So yeah, I could have just finished it and been wearing it, but I mean, it's done now, so I'm really happy. Great little win here right on the first day. That's cool. So I hope just that I'm going to keep this up and finish lots and lots of my projects. So yeah, I just did the last 2 decreases. Then I did the little like pleated detail here on the sleeve. Don't know if you can see it. And then, as I said, I had to bind off all my stitches and pick them back up again to knit the ribbing. So this then gave me this braided detail here at the cuff. And to get it, I think I had to bind the stitches off purlwise and then pick them back up again, like from the inside. Then that's how you get this little detail here. And right now it's before work, and we're just going to try and weave in all the ends, because it's my laundry day today, so it would be really cool to then directly chuck it in the washing machine and have it ready to wear in a day or 2. But the most important thing first, I finished a sleeve, so that gives me 2 points. So I got my needle ready, I've got my little scissors ready, so let's weave in some ends. And also actually at one point I was kind of afraid that I would run out of yarn, so I ended up ordering more, and now I have 4 skeins left. Because I think I probably ordered 8, or no, I think I probably ordered 10, and I ended up using 8. But at some point I was also afraid I would run out, so I ordered 2 more. So either this is going to be a lot of red socks somewhere in my future. Probably what it's going to be, we'll see, because I mean it is a classic sock yarn. Or I find another project. But yeah, I still have 4 balls left. So when I'm in the middle of my knitting, I like to just make a knot in the 2 yarns to join them. So I kind of keep going with more or less the same tension. And now here I undid the knot. I still keep like 1 of the knots, but I don't do 2, just to secure it. And it's also at this point that I'm kind of going in and just correcting the tension again, because often I knot it and then I continue to knit and kind of it moves a little bit, so it tends to be a little bit loose. And then I'm just going to take my yarn, and I just like to go like through the strands of yarn, just like diagonally in one direction, so I don't pick up the whole stitch but just 1 or 2 of the plies of the yarn, and then I go in the other direction, and once more, though seriously the second, like the third direction isn't even necessary. And then I kind of stretch it a little bit, and I do leave quite a bit of a yarn end still, and I'm going to cut that after I've washed it, because sometimes like with washing it still kind of moves, so it's I'm just sure that it will stay secure for the washing. And I feel like once it's washed and blocked the first time, the ends tend to stay the way they are, so there's much less of a chance of it unraveling or something. Yay! Seriously, this was much quicker than I thought. I never really mind weaving in the ends, like once I start I just do it, but I mean I definitely also have especially pairs of socks that I'm just wearing with the ends not woven in. So yeah, now it just needs a nice wash and definitely a bit of blocking. It is a bit short, it's just about the length, it just comes about to my jeans, but I definitely would want it just like maybe a few centimeters longer. So I hope that will happen once it's washed. And also with the sleeves being relatively wide and with like the pleated detail here, I hope that the fabric will open up a bit more and get a little bit more drape like once it's washed. So, but yeah, I'm so happy with it, and we've woven in the ends. That means 1 more point. with my freestyle sweater off the needles and drying right now, it's time to... I wanted to start the next project, but we're starting to finish it. We're not casting on any new projects. Like this is a reminder to myself, like really not. We're really finishing projects, not starting them. Anyways, the one thing with the freestyle sweater is I might have to redo the neckline. I have to see once it's dried and everything, but after I took it out of the washing machine, I do feel like it grew quite a bit, especially width-wise. So at the moment the neckline looks really big. So yeah, once it's dried I have to try it out and then decide if I want to do some changes to it or not. In here I have my Celeste sweater by PetiteKnit. Seriously, I don't know why it's not finished. Like, I love it so much, but I feel like the yoke I managed to do so quickly, and then the rest is just kind of, it's less exciting. So I mean, I don't really mind knitting stockinette projects in one color or something, but I feel like the fact that there is the colorful yoke and then nothing, just purple, feel like that's probably why I haven't really continued on it. And also it is a really warm sweater, and well, right now it's kind of cold outside, but I mean, I have an apartment that's pretty well heated, especially because I have windows, like south facing windows, so even in winter when the sun is shining it gets pretty warm. Like, it's warm at the office. So yeah, I feel it's also because of that I never really finished it, because I'm not sure how often I will be able to wear it, but now we're finishing it. So as you can see, I did the neck. The neck like this, it is like in the pattern, but I do feel like I'm probably going to fold it over and fix it to have kind of a shorter folded neck. That doesn't look very nice. To have like a shorter folded neck, because I do feel like it looks a bit long and I don't necessarily like something that comes up too high on my neck. But yeah, so it will look more like something like this. I've pretty much, like, the sleeve is finished. I think, no, I didn't do the setup rows for the tubular bind off yet, so I have to do 2 setup rows for the tubular bind off and then bind it off. And I'm not going to get points for that, because seriously, that's just lazy of not finishing it, like, because of 3 rows. And then I have a second sleeve to do. But yes, this is the next project I want to tackle. I think I should have enough yarn. I mean, I have 1 started ball and then 2 whole ones. I think it should be alright. But yeah, anyways, this is lamb's wool by Langyarns. So I have this purple as a main color. Then I had a dark green, a kind of more pinkish, a very light blue, and then kind of the off-white one for my colorwork yoke. And what I did for the yoke, because if you look at the pattern or like at her pictures on Ravelry, she has one version with kind of a dark main color and one with a light main color. And I really liked the look of the one with the dark one. So what I did is, obviously I have a dark main color, and then I looked at the contrast colors, and whenever she had kind of a darker contrast colors, I also used the dark one, like the green. And then when she had a very light one, I used the off-white, and then the other 2 were just kind of also kind of middle colors in her version. So I feel like because of that I get like the sweater has the same feel as hers, even though I'm using completely different colors. This is the problem when you leave a project for too long, you don't know what you've been doing. Luckily, I tend to be pretty good in taking notes, So for example, what I just discovered is you are supposed to do a few decreases, but I think for my size it's like a decrease of 6 stitches over the whole length of the arm. So I had just decided to not do it, so it's easier to just knit straight. And then also she has, for the bottom of the body, you do 7 centimeters of ribbing, and for the sleeves you are supposed to do 10. But I have 7 here now, and I think that's probably what I planned, to just have the same, because I like that, like have maybe one, for example, either the neck or the bottom like different, and then the 3 others the same. I just feel like it looks more finished, more thought through and polished. So I just had to verify everything, and if we're doing it with 7 centimeters, I am at the right spot now to do the setup rows and then bind off. Okay, I discovered something else that I changed apparently compared to the pattern. Luckily, I'm just going to count how many stitches I have now on the cuffs, so to make sure I have the same like for the second sleeve, and I discovered I have 48 stitches. But at the beginning of the sleeve, when I pick them up, I have 64. And if I would do the decreases as she has them in the pattern, I should have 58. So I think the way it looks is I did like a decrease round where I decreased a lot of stitches, or kind of a decent amount of stitches, just before I started the ribbing. But yeah, I have to figure that out for the second sleeve. But I know now that I have to decrease from 64 to 48, so already knowing that, that's good. First sleeve is done. Now to pick up the stitches from the second one. Oh, we also need to make sure we take the right needle, because this probably is the smaller one. I would think that it must be this. Yes. So I took the stitches that were on hold and put them on the needle, and then I picked up stitches for the underarm. And what I tend to do is I always pick up 2 more than is mentioned in the pattern, like one on the left side between the stitches that were on hold and the ones I pick up, and one on the right side. And then just on the first round I knit them together with once with the stitch before and once with the stitch after. So just to minimize the risk of having like holes underneath. You sometimes have patterns that mention it, but I just do it automatically because I know that it helps to not have gaps. Yay! My Celeste is done. Seriously, this took way longer than I thought. Considering that I only had like 1 sleeve to do, it took for ages. It's been 3 days since I last filmed. And I don't think I normally am someone who feels like being stuck on Sleeve Island. Normally I put on like a podcast or something and I just knit. But this sleeve, I don't know. I really don't know. It's not that fine a yarn. It is a woolen spun yarn, but I don't think that should change anything. But I really felt like this sleeve just didn't want to finish. But it's done now. I've woven in all the ends. So this means all this sweater needs is a very good wash and block. It definitely needs it to even out the color work and also just even out the stitches in general. Because that's also something, like normally I tend to have pretty neat stitches, but this sweater looks like all over the place. So yeah, it really needs a good wash and block. But we finished the sleeve, we've woven in the ends, that means 3 more points. But now for the one that we really want to see, no? My freestyle sweater. And seriously, in the end, I mean, the neckline, it is pretty wide now after blocking, as I mentioned, but I feel it's okay for the kind of sweater it is. And yeah, I just don't want to take it off anymore. I still have to re-block the little pleats here on the sleeves a little bit, because as I blocked it like flat, and they obviously need to be kind of 3D, they are a bit strange. But I'm just going to go in with a little bit of steam. But else, I'm just so happy with my sweater. That's it from me for this week. I have 2 finished sweaters, and hopefully I finish a few more projects in the next 7 weeks now before I move. Oh, time is flying, but yeah, see you next week. Bye!